Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This week, we're going back to beautiful British Columbia to explore Laneway homes in Langley City.
Oh, right.
This is actually our seventh city in BC.
Wow.
So you could say that we are becoming quite the experts
Yeah.
in laneway home regulations across the province.
Absolutely. And you know what they say, practice makes perfect. But even with all our BC experience,
Yeah.
Langley City still managed to throw in a few surprises.
Oh, for sure. For our listeners who are just joining us,
Yeah.
we're diving deep into what you need to know
Okay.
if you are thinking about building a laneway home in Langley,
Right.
whether it's for family or as an investment property.
Exactly. And one of the first things you'll notice about Langley City is they're pretty serious about permits.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking permits for any new construction or additions,
Wow.
even the structures as small as 10 square meters.
Really?
So building a laneway home, definitely no exception.
It might sound a bit intense, but I think it's actually reassuring.
Yeah.
It means the city's committed to ensuring that everything is built to code
Right.
and meets safety standards.
I agree. It's all about protecting both homeowners and the community.
Yeah.
And speaking of ensuring things are up to code,
Yes.
let's talk about those detailed drawings you'll need to submit
Okay.
with your permit application.
Right.
We're talking site plans, foundation plans, elevations, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it sounds a little daunting, but it makes sense.
Yeah,
Accurate plans are the foundation of any successful building project, right?
absolutely.
And don't worry if you're not an architect yourself.
Right.
Langley City makes it clear that you can always hire a qualified professional
For sure.
to help with those drawings.
Definitely. And even once construction is underway,
Yeah.
Langley City has a series of mandatory inspections throughout the process.
Okay.
Forms, framing, insulation,
Ooh.
and a final inspection before you can move in.
Wow.
It might seem like a lot, but think of it as built-in quality control.
Exactly. These inspections act as checkpoints to ensure everything is being done properly and to code.
For sure.
Now let's move on to zoning setbacks.
Okay.
These setbacks, meaning the distances
Right.
your laneway home needs to be from property lines, are super important in Langley City.
Okay.
And they actually vary
They do.
depending on whether your property is zoned RS1 or RS2.
Right. And I think it's worth taking a moment to clarify what those zoning designations actually mean for our listeners.
Yeah, for sure.
Essentially, they dictate the density and type of housing allowed
Okay.
in a specific area.
Right.
RS1 zones are typically lower density, often characterized by single-family homes with larger lots.
Whereas RS2 zones allow for a bit more density,
Right.
which might mean duplexes or smaller lot sizes.
Okay.
So why does this matter for laneway homes?
Yeah.
Well, it directly impacts those setbacks we were talking about.
Oh, okay.
For instance, both RS1 and RS2 zones require a 7.5-meter setback from the front property line.
Right.
But side setbacks differ.
Okay.
RS1 zones require a 1.5-meter side setback, while RS2 zones mandate a 3-meter setback.
So it sounds like it's all about striking a balance
Yeah.
between development and livability,
Exactly.
ensuring that there's enough space between buildings for light privacy and a sense of openness.
It is. And speaking of balance, another key factor is a lot coverage.
Okay.
In both RS1 and RS2 zones, you're limited to a maximum of 33% lot coverage.
Right.
This essentially means that buildings and structures can't cover more than a third of your total lot area. I think this is a pretty common regulation in many cities.
Yeah,
And it makes a lot of sense.
it does.
It helps prevent overcrowding, ensures adequate green space,
Right.
and maintains the overall character of the neighborhood.
For sure. But now,
Yes.
get ready because Langley City is about to throw us a curveball.
Oh, really?
Especially if you're in South Langley.
Yes.
We're talking about their unique approach to rainwater management.
This is where it gets really interesting.
If your property in South Langley isn't connected to the city's storm sewer system, you're going to need a pretty comprehensive integrated rainwater management plan.
And these plans are no joke.
No.
We're talking infiltration galleries,
Wow.
splash pads, and even specific requirements for amended soil.
It all has to be designed by a professional geotechnical engineer.
It might sound complicated, but
yeah.
when you think about it, it's a pretty forward-thinking approach. South Langley has unique soil conditions
Right.
and a delicate ecosystem.
For sure.
So these measures are all about ensuring proper drainage, minimizing the impact of stormwater runoff,
Yeah.
and protecting water quality.
And as if that weren't enough,
What?
they even have a minimum building elevation requirement to further mitigate flood risks.
I was pretty surprised to learn about this one.
It definitely highlights Langley City's commitment to sustainable development. They're not just thinking about the here and now, they're looking at the long-term impacts of building and development. But with all these rules and regulations, you might be feeling a little overwhelmed.
I know, I was when I first started digging into this.
Yeah.
So what do you do if you want to build a laneway home in Langley City but aren't sure where to start?
Well, I think the most important thing is to find a team that truly understands the nuances of Langley's regulations.
Okay.
Someone who can guide you through the process and make sure everything is done by the book.
And that's why for this deep dive, we highly recommend reaching out to Corval Homes.
Yeah.
They're experienced builders in the area,
Mm-hmm.
and they have a fantastic track record with Laneway Homes in Langley.
I've heard great things about them.
They can handle everything from design to completion,
Wow.
taking the stress out of the process.
Absolutely. And here's a pro tip. When you contact them, ask for Gordy.
Oh, good to know.
He's incredibly knowledgeable and will make sure you're in good hands.
Awesome.
You can find them online at corvalhomes.com.
Perfect. But before you go check out their website,
Okay.
let's dig a little deeper into the reasons
All right.
why someone might want to build a Laneway home in Langley in the first place.
Okay, I'm with you.
Is it a better option for families or as an investment? Let's explore that next.
Right, let's do it.
Okay, so we've talked about the nuts and bolts of building a Laneway home in Langley City,
Yeah.
but let's shift gears and talk about why someone might choose to do this in the first place.
Okay, yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah,
And I think the answer really depends on your individual needs and goals.
for sure.
For some people,
Yeah.
a laneway home is the perfect solution for multi-generational living.
That's true.
Imagine having a comfortable, self-contained space for your aging parents right in your backyard.
Yeah,
It gives them the independence they crave
yeah,
while still being close enough for you to offer support when needed.
exactly. And it's not just about aging parents.
Right.
Laneway homes could be a great option
Mm-hmm.
for adult children who are just starting out or maybe need a little extra support before they're ready to fly the coop completely.
It's all about creating a sense of community and connection
Yeah,
within families while still respecting everyone's need for privacy and independence.
absolutely. But let's not forget about the potential financial benefits.
Right.
Building a laneway home as a rental property
Mm-hmm.
can be a fantastic way to generate some passive income.
Especially in a housing market like Langley City,
Yeah.
where the demand for rentals is consistently high.
And speaking of finances, let's talk about the investment potential of laneway homes.
Okay.
Adding a separate dwelling unit to your property
Mm-hmm.
can significantly increase its overall value.
Oh.
You're essentially creating an income-generating asset right in your backyard.
And with the rising demand for rental properties,
Yeah.
you're likely to find a steady stream of tenants, making it a pretty solid long-term investment.
Yeah, but of course it's not all sunshine and roses.
Right.
There are some potential drawbacks to consider as well.
Yeah, building a laneway home can be expensive.
Yeah.
There's no getting around that.
Sure.
And even though Laneway City has done a great job of
Mhm.
streamlining the process,
Yeah.
there's still a lot of planning and paperwork involved.
You definitely need to be prepared to navigate those regulations and inspections we talked about earlier.
And it's also important to consider the potential impact
Yeah.
on your lifestyle and neighborhood dynamics.
Well, having additional people living on your property,
Right.
whether they're family or tenants,
Mm-hmm.
create any friction or tension,
It's definitely something to think about.
for sure.
And then there's the question of parking and traffic flow.
Right, well, adding another dwelling unit
Yeah.
put a strain on already limited parking in your neighborhood.
These are all important factors to weigh
Yeah.
before making a decision.
Absolutely. Building a laneway home is a big decision,
Mm-hmm.
and it's crucial to go into it with your eyes wide open.
Yeah.
Do your research, talk to experts,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure it aligns with your long-term goals and lifestyle.
I think that's great advice for any major home renovation or building project.
Yeah.
Not just laneway homes.
So if you're listening to this and thinking that a laneway home might be the right choice for you,
Yeah.
what's the next step?
Well, I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier about finding the right team.
Okay.
Someone who understands the ins and outs of Langley's regulations.
Right.
And can guide you through the entire process.
And for that, we wholeheartedly recommend reaching out to Corval Homes.
Yeah.
They're true experts in laneway home construction in Langley City.
Don't forget to ask for Gordy.
Right.
He's a wealth of knowledge and can answer all your questions.
And you can find them online at corvalhomes.com.
Exactly.
Now, before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listeners with something to ponder.
What do you mean?
Well, how do laneway homes fit into the larger conversation about housing affordability and sustainability?
Oh, okay.
Are they a viable solution for creating more diverse and inclusive neighborhoods?
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
I know some people argue that laneway homes can help increase density in established neighborhoods
Right.
without drastically altering their character.
Exactly. And by providing more housing options,
Right.
they could potentially help make home ownership more attainable
Yeah.
for younger generations or those struggling to find affordable rentals.
It's definitely a complex issue with no easy answers,
Yeah.
but I think it's an important conversation to have
For sure.
as more and more cities start to embrace the concept of laneway homes.
Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the world of laneway homes in Langley City.
We covered a lot of ground,
Yeah.
from zoning setbacks and rainwater management to the pros and cons of building for family versus investment.
I hope you found it informative and helpful
Yeah.
as you consider your own laneway home journey.
And if you're ready to take the plunge,
Yeah.
don't forget to visit coravalhomes.com and have a chat with Gordy.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Until next time.
We covered a lot of ground today, right? From zoning setbacks and rainwater management to the pros and cons of building for family versus investment. It feels like we've really explored every nook and cranny of laneway homes in Langley City.
I think so too.
Hopefully our listeners are feeling a lot more informed and even maybe a little bit inspired to start their own laneway home journey.
Yeah, for sure.
So before we wrap up, I want to make sure we highlight those key takeaways.
All right.
What are the most important things our listeners should remember about laneway homes in Langley City?
I think the first thing is that it's definitely doable.
Yeah.
Langley City has a clear process in place, and as long as you're prepared to do your due diligence and follow the regulations, building a laneway home can be a smooth and rewarding experience.
Absolutely. And those detailed drawings and inspections we talked about earlier, they might seem like a hassle,
Yeah.
but they're really there to protect you and ensure that your laneway home is safe, structurally sound, and built to last.
Exactly. And speaking of Langley's unique regulations, those rainwater management requirements in South Langley, don't underestimate them.
Definitely not. It's all about being a responsible homeowner and minimizing your environmental impact.
For sure. And I can't emphasize enough the importance of working with experienced professionals
Right.
who understand the intricacies of Langley's regulations.
Absolutely. That's where a builder like Corvell Homes comes in.
Yeah.
They have a proven track record in Langley City, and their expertise can make the entire process so much easier. Seriously, if you're considering building a laneway home, do yourself a favor and give him a call.
Mm-hmm.
And don't forget to ask for Gordy.
Yeah, Gordy's the man.
He's your go-to guy for all things laneway homes, and you can find them online at corvellhomes.com.
Couldn't agree more.
But beyond the practical and financial aspects of building a laneway home,
Yeah.
I think it's worth reflecting on the broader implications.
What do you mean?
How might adding a laneway home impact your neighborhood's dynamics?
Yeah.
Will it enhance the sense of community?
Right.
Or potentially lead to concerns about increased density and traffic?
And on a larger scale, how do laneway homes fit into the conversation about affordable housing and sustainable urban development? These are all questions worth pondering as you embark on your laneway home journey.
Absolutely. So to our listeners, whether you're motivated by family finances or a desire to contribute to a more sustainable future, I hope this deep dive has equipped you with the knowledge and inspiration to take that next step.
We've only scratched the surface,
Yeah.
but hopefully we've sparked your curiosity and given you a solid foundation to build upon.
And remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So why not start today?
That's all the time we have for this week's deep dive.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, happy building!
2030.